And here we are. It's Monday, October 26th, for a special edition of Litvak Leadership Live with my very special guest, Joe Soto. Before he jumps into it, yes, let's talk about the elephant in the room. When I was just talking to Joe, he goes, "Are you in your car?" So, yes, I am coming to you today from my vehicle, at least my vehicle of the moment. Um, had to go see a customer prospect, 3 hour drive. And you don't always get back in time to have a beautiful background. So that's why you see windows around me. Anyways, Joe, welcome to Litvak Leadership Live. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sean. And don't worry, you still look good, man.
Doing my best. So, Joe, as you know, I really want people to understand what you do. And the more I read about what you do, and the more I look at your various websites, um, the harder it is for me to explain it. Why don't you give an explanation of exactly what you do? Because you do so much.
Okay. Well, I always tell people I'm the only 10-year-old you'd want working on your marketing strategy. And that's because I've had a marketing agency that's just over 10 years old now. So we have a digital agency and we've helped hundreds of clients around literally the world use social media and digital marketing to grow their businesses. And we've had all kinds of niches, speakers and authors. We've had a lot of them. We've had a lot of them climb the charts and become New York Times bestsellers, as well as for a while we were niching and helping out over 70 restaurants use and leverage digital marketing to grow. And then in 2017, really 2016 to 17, I started to get into educating and helping other entrepreneurs, new agency startups, new digital marketing consultants grow their business and really, grow it to six and some 7 figures in revenue. And that became kind of a passion for me, was educating entrepreneurs. And so that's kind of what I've been doing spending most of my time on, is on this education side, building courses, coaching programs, masterminds to serve that community.
So as I look at your background, I see you're a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner, or practitioner, master practitioner, and trainer. So what exactly is neuro-linguistic programming?
So NLP for short, so we don't have to get
NLP.
tongue-tied. The easiest way to explain that is, Anthony, a lot of people know who Tony Robbins is. And Tony Robbins' first book was called Unlimited Power. And that entire first book was on NLP. And he even says that in the beginning of the book, that this was based on his training in neuro-linguistic programming. And the problem with that for Tony Robbins was that at the end of writing that book, everybody started going to learn NLP rather than going and learning it from him. They started learning it from the trainers that he quotes and that he mentions in that book. And and then he got real smart. He wrote a second book called Awaken the Giant Within, which was his follow-up book. It's one of my favorite books. And he calls his technology, his personal development technology and psychology, which is really what NLP is. He started calling it neuroassociative conditioning. He renamed it so that in order to get certified or get trained in his neuroassociative conditioning, his knack, you had to go study and learn it from him, which he built an empire from. So it really was a psychology that originated from modeling 3 of the most successful psychologists and therapists of our time. They studied a hypnotherapist named Milton Erickson. They studied a Gestalt therapist named Fritz Perls, and they modeled a very successful, the most successful marriage and family therapist of our time, Virginia Satir. And they found common patterns that these therapists were doing with their clients to get incredible results. And they took and extracted those patterns and taught it as NLP, and they named it neuro-linguistic programming, which is how your mind and your language can influence and program your behavior. And so, Shad Helmstead wrote a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and that's only one piece of it, right? So that's kind of in a nutshell what NLP is. And I was fortunate to have extensive training in NLP as well. And that's really what propelled my early part of my career.
So I mean, there is so much with self-fulfilling prophecy and self-talk, but obviously that is just the first stepping stone of NLP.
Yeah, NLP is think of it like this. It originated from modeling. So most people think of NLP as a set of techniques. They've heard of mirroring and matching, and they've heard of, to build rapport, and they've heard of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners, and visual and kinesthetic and audio people. And that all stems from the original study of NLP. But
All right.
what really made NLP work was they learned all that from modeling excellence. And so at the core of what I would encourage people to do if they want to learn NLP is to start studying people that excel and model what they do and do what they do, and stop listening to the naysayers of the people that, or maybe are not where you want to be, and start looking at and modeling the people that are where you want to be so you can have similar results. And that's what they did so brilliantly back then. And that's what Tony Robbins did brilliantly.
Well, and it seems like every entrepreneur that I've ever read about, the number one thing that they said that they did was when they started out, they didn't tell any of their family and almost none of their friends what their idea was and what they were doing, because they knew that they were going to look at them and say, you're nuts, you'll never succeed.
Yeah, I would say that's seems to be true. In my case, that was not the case. I didn't really have any family or friends that tried to drag me down, or I didn't have a lot of naysayers. But I also didn't have a lot of encouragement or support because they didn't really know how to take it. I mean, there's some people who still don't know how to take me. So I think as everybody kind of grows into their skin or into their calling or into their path of what they want to do, there's always going to be some people that are the doubters, the haters, and so forth. But I had a mentor tell me once. He said, "Just always remember that dogs don't bark at parked cars." And I love that. He says, "So just keep moving, do what you want to do, live your life, the way that it makes you happy, and don't get concerned about what other people say." There's a great book called The Courage to be Disliked, and the authors of that book is two Japanese people. It's written in the format of in the context of a conversation between a Japanese student and a Japanese teacher on the philosophy of Adlerian psychology, which is really just individualism and not really caring what other people think, just finding your own way and blazing your own trail. I can't think of the name of the authors; it's too hard to pronounce anyway. But The Courage to be Disliked, and it's one of my favorite books of the last 12 months.
I know many people that I have talked to that have excelled in life, and one of the things that they talk about is, people just don't get me, but when they have found
on the right track,
who does get them, it makes such a difference in the world.
Yeah. If you get a lot of people who don't understand you, or they're confused by what you're doing, or they just, that you're doing something right.
which is very encouraging. Thank you very much. So looking at what you do, I mean, you have so many different directions and focuses, so here, let's use me as a case study. Okay. Litvak Leadership, side hustle, something that I want to have, expand, grow, whether it's, Litvak Leadership or Bam Pizza. Let's say Eric leaves the pizza liner and wants to just go into pizzas themselves. As someone is putting together and thinking about their plan and where to enter into the market, is that where you come in?
It is, but I would say, I do have a broad range of understanding of digital marketing in general, and so I could technically help anyone do that. But where I come in is somebody says, "Yeah, I have my idea. I have my desired audience I want to target, and I need help getting not just my name out there, because we don't have budgets like Coca-Cola to just do a bunch of brand awareness and branding. But I need to get my name out there, and I need to optimize that to get some sort of return on my investment of either money or time." So there's so many people who are posting just for the sake of posting, and they don't really have a strategy to that. There are people who launch podcast shows and they don't really have a strategy to the show. Before I launched my show, which I just recently did, I'm only on my 10th or 11th episode now.
Okay.
I just recently launched my podcast, just like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
But before I did that, I have, in the home, I have 7 children that are under the age of 16. We have 2 out of the house. So we have 7 kids in the home still. So I'm very protective of my time. So I said to myself and to people that were telling me, get a show, get a podcast, go live on Facebook and go live on YouTube and LinkedIn and all these places we go live on. And I said, before I do that, I need to understand how that will be in a return on my time or money. Now, it doesn't mean I won't give value. I want to give value in such a way that ultimately I know that I can somehow optimize that opportunity for me because I'm spending my time doing it. So
Sure.
Most people don't know that part of it. And that's where I come in, is I come in and say, listen, let me, and I did this, I've done this even with like people like Ken Walls, who we know, who does live streaming kind of for a living now. But certain people do these things and they don't really know, how do I optimize this to maximize revenue? And that's, my name of my company is Revenue Inbound. So
Yes.
Everything centers around how do we get revenue that comes in. Even going on here as your guest, I'm like, what can I give as value? And in return, I can ultimately add to my list, and I'll show everyone how to do that at the end.
Okay. So when someone, I know people who signed up for John Maxwell courses, and so many people who are, looking at COVID and the coronavirus as opportunity to pivot and do something different and stand out from the crowd. They may not necessarily know the full why, but they have the beginnings of the why. And rather than just standing there, they're doing. So do you encourage that or do you discourage that?
No, I encourage it. But I also would say that as soon as possible, you want to be purposeful and strategic in your output of content and social media. Otherwise, people will get very confused, and they need to have people need to kind of have a reason for following you. Like for me, a lot of people who follow my content follow because they're startup digital marketers, they're startup digital consultants, and they want help, right? So if I can help them, and then ultimately they may choose that buying one of my courses is the right path for them, or they may not. But I want to be purposeful in that. I know that at the end of the journey, they can find their way to partnering with me or working with me somehow, and I'll help them if they choose to do that. But in the meantime, the secret sauce to helping people is to help them first, and just to give value first, right? So if people are out there giving value and ultimately, that goodwill stuff, then I'm all for it. I would encourage it. But at some point, I would say, start turning that audience and that listenership into a list. I would tell people, I tell everyone that does shows, I would tell you the same thing: promote the shows, advertise and market your shows ahead of time and after. Pre-market them. You can get an invite to people to your events. Like for instance, I have a Thursday show coming up. Today I was sending invites and promoting and doing everything I can to try to fill that show up. When it's finished, I'll spend some money on Facebook advertising to promote it to a relevant audience on Facebook. And I'll get that show 50 to 100,000 views. When I launched my show, I had 54,000 views on my first episode. And people said, well, that's because you had Jeffrey Gitomer on. I said, no, that's not why. Okay. I only had 1,300 people who viewed it before I promoted it. And then when I started advertising for it, it went to 54,000. My second episode, I dialed that advertising model in a little bit more. And by the way, everyone can learn this on facebook.com/business for free.
Okay.
Facebook.com/business. And you'll see they have online Facebook advertising courses for free. And the reason why they give away incredible free training to teach you how to advertise on Facebook, even the most smallest of business, is because they make their money from advertising revenue. So they'll teach you for free all day long. And you don't have to go buy a big guru course or anything. So I'll advertise it. But no, my second episode had 114,000 views. And wow. And because I spent a couple $100. Now, if I had only spent $20, it still would have got 10,000, 20,000 views, which is still a lot. So people watching this may not be, I don't got to spend $200 per episode or every time I go live. I'd say, well, then don't spend $20, $10, and make that show have some impact. And then you'll see the traction that will come from that. I mean, we had over 2,000 likes, over 6,000 engagements on that second episode. And I had people calling me saying, how are you getting so many views and engagements and likes and shares on your first few episodes? And the answer is simple. I'm willing to promote it and spend a little bit of money to get a lot of traction. And that's what a lot of people just don't do. They just kind of leave that part out and they wonder why they can't get traction. So for me, again, I want to be purposeful. I want my first 10 episodes to get 500,000 views. That was my goal.
So I've got a friend who that I've known since high school, who's really big in his industry, and I had asked him because he does a monthly report within his industry, and I thought, okay, he's a good gauge as to to compare my views to, and he said that on average he gets 179 views within 24 hours, and when I compared that to my views, I realized that I was getting a whole lot more than that.
Yeah.
But not what you're saying. So either my promotion of just sending it out on Messenger and having individuals promote it themselves is good, but it sounds like to just spend a few bucks, someone like me or the penalty box or any other stream show can spend 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks and really have an extreme reach.
Correct. So I'll give you an example, and I have my phone here in front of me. So last week I had Michael Heppel on the show, and he wrote a book called 17. But this works with people who wrote books or don't write books. And we had my reach was 1,800 people. This is organically.
Okay.
And we had quite a few comments and some shares. And by putting just a little bit of money on it, like $30, so this one it just started the promotion. We're already at 39,000 people reached and 12,000 views. Okay.
Wow.
Of that show, which was just last week. Okay.
Wow.
I advertised, or I met, did a show with Mark Victor Hansen, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. But organically, only 800 people were reached with our show. But after paying a little bit of money, we're at 27,000 views today, and I just had them on Thursday. So this is Monday. So based on when we're doing this, and I had them on Thursday. We're at 73,000 people reached, over 1,000 post clicks. 1,000 post clicks. Now, why would I do that? Because I want to do it because you go, well, Joe, what do you get in return on that? This is a longer strategy than we probably have time for on the show, but for two things. Number one, I'm going to help Mark promote his book. And so I'm just doing a goodwill thing and helping him. He took time out to be on my show. I'm going to honor him by promoting his book. And he shared value with my audience. That was gold. It was really interesting and gold in my opinion. I'm going to promote a little bit of money and boost the views on my show. And then Facebook lets you do a really cool thing. And they teach you this on facebook.com/business. There's actually a module just on Facebook retargeting where I can retarget people that have viewed my videos, these shows, just like we're on right now, for longer than 15 seconds. So I know if they're watched 15 seconds or longer, they're probably engaged in watching the show.
Sure.
And I can send an ad follow-up just to those people. So I'm building an audience list on Facebook that I could send an ad to later of just people who've taken the time to watch my show, which is my most engaged audience, which means I'm going to advertise something for myself. Do I want to advertise to a cold audience or to a warm one that's been warmed up?
So the audience that has already engaged with your ad, Facebook holds on to within your Facebook business account, and you can target them specifically.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. So and you can also target not just people who have viewed your content. You can target people who have engaged in it with comments or likes.
Oh, so even better.
Yeah. So now you have an audience that's warmed up and engaged, and Facebook allows you to remarket. It's called remarketing, retarget those people.
So now, Eric's got
somebody's watching this. Somebody will watch this and they'll go, wait a minute, this sounds too technical. And my answer is, well, for some people there is. They just go, I don't want to have to do Facebook advertising. I don't want to have to deal with the Facebook advertising technical piece of it. And the answer is, there are plenty of people. You can go to my friend Sean or my friend Andrew Locke shared the other day on my show. You can go to internships.com and find a college student who's trying to get an internship either for free or for $15 an hour, who will happily do this part for you. Eric says, what's the ROI on the $30 with Michael Heppel?
Yeah.
Are you inviting all the folks to your page? Yeah. So that's my point. The ROI is in my ad follow-up to the audience when I start doing ads just to the people. What I'll do is when I get to about 20 episodes, I'll have 20 episodes of hundreds of thousands of views. By then I'll have over a million views. A large percentage of those million views will be people who watch longer than 15 seconds. And now I can run ads to those people for offers. Like, for instance, come watch my webinar. And they might come to watch my webinar. And then I might have a training that I sell at the end of my webinar, but I'm going to give value in that webinar. And that's how you get webinar signups. This is the secret sauce of Facebook advertising, is retargeting.
Interesting. So
and the ROI is
you're doing
it. We've been doing it for dozens of clients over the years. Since 2013, we've been doing Facebook advertising. So the ROI is significant.
So
it depends on the business and the industry, the exact answer to that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It depends on the business and the industry before you can benchmark all the ROIs. The standard thing is with Facebook is you want to be able to put $1 in and get $2 back. Now, when you're advertising your show and just building up that viewership, you can get those views for 1 penny to 5 cents. It's not very expensive. But when you're running ads to offers, you got to be very, strategic in those ads. Obviously, the ad has to be great. The landing pages have to convert. Your offer has to be, irresistible. And all those elements have to be put together. But at the end of the day, we've been able to 10x our dollars sometimes in some of our ads. So sometimes the return is up to 10 times whatever we put into it. Good advertising agencies should be able to get you a minimum of $1 for $1. So you're making $2 on every $1 you spend.
Okay.
That's where Facebook's amazing. It's still the most inexpensive platform. And then YouTube is coming on very strong. It's a great advertising platform. And then LinkedIn. I was just on a call today learning more about LinkedIn advertising.
So what you're saying is, Facebook seems to really have it going on, but YouTube is up and coming, and so's LinkedIn for all types of businesses.
Yeah, YouTube is underrated, man. And what I mean by that as a business medium. So I don't have a huge YouTube channel. On Thursday, I'm interviewing somebody who has 2.6 million subscribers. I have 6,000 subscribers.
Right.
But those 6,000 subscribers, because of the ad revenue generated from the channel alone, earns me what some people would consider to be a small house payment per month in advertising commission just from having 6,000 subscribers. Aside from that, every single video I post a link to a free training that I have. And those free trainings are my online webinars. And my online webinars are very valuable trainings to new agency startups, to my audience, right? And at the end of my webinars, I sell a $997 course. So it's $1,000 online program. I have spent less than $15,000 on total advertising since 2017 for my own online courses, and have done over 7 figures in my online courses, and I used an iPhone to record them. So
that is incredible.
Most people don't realize I used an iPhone and a tripod to record 80% of my courses. The other 20% were on my laptop for like a screen share. But anything where I was on camera was with my iPhone. And
that is unbelievable.
And YouTube is a big piece of that. And before the pandemic, YouTube was creating anywhere between 10 and 20 sales a month. So it's 10 to 20,000 revenue just coming from YouTube. Post-pandemic, it's dropped down. But what everyone's telling me is just double up some of the efforts and make sure I also bring those trainings up to date. So I do have a little bit of work to do to get back to that. But it shows you the power of YouTube.
Well, and that was going to be my follow-up question to you, that, with the pandemic, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I know I wouldn't be streaming like I am. I know that, Zoom people only kind of played with beforehand, and different people are having different streaming mediums. So much has gone online. Um, has your business increased, and where do you see it going as people are doing more and more and more online?
So I was fortunate. I was already doing, virtual trainings. I had
Sure.
a coaching program that was always already 100% virtual. I had done two of them pre-pandemic. I did one right as the pandemic was starting, which was a virtual coaching program that I charge several $1,000s for an 8-week program. I had just opened up my mastermind group, which is a higher end mastermind group of
Hmm.
entrepreneurs around the country that I partner with, as you know, Jeffrey Gitomer with. And then
Right.
I also had a couple new courses and programs that came out, which have done well. And so for me, I was already in that world. What I find is that people who weren't kind of already in the digital world are where their hand was forced when the pandemic hit.
Right.
And everyone's figuring that out. But what I have also learned is that people in all kinds of positions, I don't care, even in sales positions, some of our clients on our agency side, they they've had to pivot from outside salespeople to turning those salespeople into digital, almost like self-branded entrepreneurs, but basically they're digital salespeople. They're now selling via Zoom. They're now doing everything. They were used to going to conferences or used to going and setting up booths at
Hmm.
association meetings. They were used to traveling and
Exactly.
meeting with clients. And now they're doing this. They're getting on a Zoom presentation or some sort of video share, and they're learning how to present and sell in that way. So it's just the skills are still important, but now the skills to be able to I think it takes a different type of courage for people to embrace the technology and embrace the
Yeah.
visual, the virtual world. But um, you know, it's it's up to you. It's up to you to embrace that. And
I'll
I think people are doing it. Look at
agree
you,
with you
man. You
100%.
got this great show. You're doing it from your
Yeah, I
car.
mean, it's a totally different. Yes, I am in the car. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
totally different type of courage, because I've gotten up in front of large crowds and presented. I've, been doing presentations my entire life. And then when the pandemic hit, there were three salespeople within an association that I'm a part of that started posting short 30-second videos on LinkedIn. And every time I saw one, I had a pit in my stomach, because the thing was, I thought, I need to be doing that, but I'm terrified. I need to be doing this, but I'm terrified. And, thankfully, I mean, I signed up for Jeffrey Gitomer's course, where he just pounded us on, you need to go live, you need to go live, you need to go
Yeah.
live. And, that was how I ended up falling in with the Megamind group. And now, here we are having this conversation, and I'm having a conversation like this. So I think there's a lot of people that, if they're not at this point yet, they are still, working their way there. I see great opportunity in streaming and in the virtual world. And, especially for you, because you are so far ahead of the curve, because like you said, you've been doing this already. Guys like me are still trying to figure it out, and you've got it down.
Well, somewhat. I'm still learning the technology. These new like StreamYard, which is what we're on right now, was new for me, and so I did have to learn a few things. But even Jeffrey Gitomer, for the longest time, wasn't promoting his content. Now, when he goes live, a lot of people don't know this. He spends money on every single live he does every single day.
Does he?
There's people watching this who have no idea that that's how he's getting the views that he's getting post show. So as soon as his show's done,
Right.
his ad team goes on and puts a few dollars on every single day's episode. Yes, because
I
that's
had
how
no
you do.
idea.
Yeah, of course, because that's how you grow your viewership. It's not just through organic. Here's the thing: organic takes time.
Yes.
And when I'm part of a mastermind that has some I'm like the smallest player in it. I mean, Joe Polish is in it, and Jay Abraham, and Ryan Levesque, and some of these master marketers are in there. And I learned that all of them advertise and spend money on their podcasts when they're done doing a podcast. All of them. So every single one of them pays to promote their advertising and their marketing. So,
I had no idea that you could even do that.
Think they just have big lists, so they have this huge following, and so everyone just shows up. And the answer is that is not the case. They have it is part of the case, but it's not all of it. So, because Facebook kind of makes you pay to play. So content marketing on its own without some direct response advertising is a strategy that can work, and it's long-term and it's slower. So if you want to add, I don't know about you, it's like if I'm going to go from here to Chicago, I gotta get on an airplane, then ride my skateboard.
Darn tootin'.
The skateboard will get me there, but man, will I get there a whole lot faster if I'm willing to spend a little extra money and put it into an airline ticket. And that is marketing 101.
You know, I don't know what everyone else has learned today, but I've learned a bunch. Just thank you for being on the show, Joe.
Let me give you another piece of the secret real quick.
All right.
When you start getting up your viewership, you now can go to a sponsor and you can share with them what your viewership is of your show that you've been paying for. And these sponsors will pay you for advertising and having a spot to sponsor your show. And to the tune of, if you're getting about 1 million views, that will equal about a $10,000 sponsorship spot. That's what it will warrant. Now, let's say some people go, well, I'm not going to pay, the few $1,000s it takes to get 1 million views per show. Well, the answer is, then what you do is you have them sponsor X amount of shows of whatever it takes to get to the 1 million views. So let's say you do 8 episodes, and each one of them you can get 120,000 views for, which will cost about $200 to $300. And you do that over the course of a month, that's $1 million. Well, then someone will happily pay you $10,000. When you're listening to these podcasts and you hear these sponsors on these big podcasts, that's what they did. That's what they did. They paid to promote, and then they used the sponsorships money to pay for the Facebook ads, and were still profitable at the end of it. So you can do all of this without using your own money if you do it smartly.
Right. You make the investment on the front end, and then once you get the sponsorship, it's just a wheel that keeps on rolling.
Yeah.
Amazing. So before we got on today, you said you had a special offer for everybody.
It's not an offer. I'm just going to give them a gift. Okay. So I did a training for Jeffrey Gitomer for his private group a while back, and I gave a 93-page PDF of my slideshow of that training, where I reveal I think it's 9 digital attraction hacks that, and most of it's free, just free advice. All of it's free, meaning there's a couple tools I recommend that cost a little bit of a monthly if you were to go with the tool, but I share what the tools are. And everyone can have that today. You mind if I give that to everyone?
Please do.
So it's 93 pages, but it's an amazing presentation I did for just his private group. No one else has ever seen this. You didn't get to see the hour training, but you can still get the handout. And all you have to do is text. So everyone has to pull out their phones. You can text the word Litvak, just like it sounds, just like you can read here on the screen, Litvak, to 501-254-6301. So if you text the word Litvak to that number, 501-254-6301, you'll just see a link to download all the slides. And then you could forward that to yourself in an email or just look at it on your phone. And I can tell you, it took me hours to put that together. And I got a lot of people raving about the ideas and the strategies that are in that document, which continue on what we were talking about here.
Unbelievable. What a freebie. Thank you so much. And you know, Joe, when I end the show the same way every single time, we're at 35 minutes almost. But I ask every guest basically the same question, and you are so content rich already. My question to you is, what do you want people to take away from this today? When people say, "Boy, when Sean talked to Joe Soto, this was what Joe really impressed upon me."
To
Go.
market on purpose, to be strategic and purposeful in your content marketing and output, so you can make the most of the value you're giving to other people.
Yes, I'm writing down. I can't.
I see
Write without
Justin
looking.
put in the comments the number. Thanks for doing that, Justin.
There we go.
And
There
Melissa's like,
and
oh, a gift. Thank you.
yes, everyone, 501
Free gifts. We
254
love free gifts.
6301. Text my name Litvak there for the gift. Yes, thank you, Justin. Difficult to be the producer and the interviewer. So anyway,
Hey, Bruce can
so
help you
Joe,
with that. Bruce can help you with that.
yeah, I know, but then I have to give up control. We've been talking about that. I
know,
need to
me
learn how to
too.
give
I've
up
been talking about the
control.
same thing. I'm like right close to pulling the triggers for his help. He's amazing. He's amazing. Everyone should be using him.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you being on the show. Everyone else, thank you for being here today. Another really informative episode of Litvak Leadership Live, and be blessed and have a great day.